This is Truth Be Told.
That not only are there reptilians here,
new evidence of UFO fleets.
We were close to nuclear war.
To help you transform so that you can live your highest truth.
We're not being told just because we're not ready for it.
Geostations of frequency, vibrational.
Axis of the world is going to change.
UFOs increase. Visitations. Anunnaki and Abrahamic religions. Are they the same? Did religions come from the Anunnaki? Well, today we have Sergio El Halabi talking about his research of the Anunnaki and how religion and an Anunnaki might be the same. Was Noah from the Noah and the Ark? Was he highly DNA infused from the Anunnaki and given the warning to save humanity? Well, we find out all kinds of information on today's show. Get your questions ready. I'm Tony Sweet with Truth Be Told. Please welcome to the Truth Be Told studios for the first time, all the way from the Middle East, podcaster, researcher, Sergio El Halabi. Sergio, how are you?
Hello. I am very good. How are you?
I am wonderful. And just so people know, you're not in the next room. Tell us where you're zooming in from.
Yeah, I'm quite far actually, and our time zones are extremely different from where we are. I am currently in Bahrain, and I'm originally from Lebanon. I moved here about 12, 13 years ago. So
wow.
This is where I live, yeah.
Congratulations on that. I'm sure you, is it like here it's cold? I'm like freezing over here. I don't know what it's like there.
It is so hot here, like it's insane. It does not get cold. It rains once a year, and we all feel very lucky in that day.
Right, everybody runs outside. Hey,
everybody goes outside,
I need rain. Right.
And that's it. And then goes away. That's it.
Well, today we're going to be talking about, like the intro says, the Anunnaki and the Abrahamic religions. And so, a lot of people that tune into my show, we've talked about this several times in the past, but not the two together. So, first of all, can you explain what Anunnaki is, and then Abrahamic religions are, because that definitely is a subject we really haven't touched on before.
Yeah, and throughout this episode, you will see how much they are connected. It's really quite amazing and insane. So we start with the Anunnaki, and the Anunnaki is if you want, the pantheon of gods from the mythology of the Mesopotamia. Mm-hmm. Mesopotamia is, as of now, as of what we know so far, is the first and earliest civilization known to man. It's located in what is modern day known as Iraq and Syria. So that was the kingdom of Mesopotamia. Again, the basic known facts from archaeology and historians tell us that it dates around 6,000 to 7,000 BC. Sorry, it was the first civilization when humanity moved from being nomads and like living as hunter and gatherer societies. Mm-hmm. They moved, became settlers, and then they discovered architecture, buildings, engineering, agriculture, and everything. The laws were first created in Mesopotamia, and definitely we have the first known religion to man as the Anunnaki. The Anunnaki is, like I said, it's the pantheon of God. But the striking thing about the Anunnaki, before we move into Abrahamic religions and
right,
what follows, is the names that they used to use back in those days, because Anunnaki itself is, when you translate it from the ancient language to today, Anu is the god of everything, basically. Like, he is the creator of all. Mm-hmm. Ki is earth, and Anunnaki means those who came from above to earth. And when you hear that the first time, that these humans, basically humanity at the time, when they were referring to their gods as those who came down from the heavens to us, it actually reveals a sort of like, it begs a question as to why would they refer to them as beings who came down from heavens, came down from the sky, from what they would call heaven at the time, came down and landed on earth, basically. That's what Anunnaki mean. And of course, like any other pantheon, we have a lot of different gods. We have the main god, who is Anu. He had two sons. It's Enki and Enlil. And they have different, visions towards what they wanted to do with Earth, what they wanted to do with mankind, what they wanted to do with all that. And it's basically some of the stories that are within the mythology of the Anunnaki and Mesopotamia translate so well into Abrahamic religions that you start to wonder whether there is truth in the Anunnaki religion and where does it come from and how it translated into today's world. Now, the reason why the Abrahamic religions, I want to talk about the Abrahamic religions because they make up so much of, the religion today, the three religions are Christianity, Judaism, and Islam.
Right.
And if we look at the numbers on their own, these three religions make up roughly 56% of the world's population. So we're talking more than half of humanity today have its root religion, belief started within another religion that could be connected to a more extraterrestrial and more alien beings than we are first led to believe.
Well, can I ask you this real quick before you go further? So, what do you feel the year was? Like 5,000? When did the Anunnaki actually come to this earth? Did they ever determine the actual age?
Yes. So from the many tablets that were discovered in Iraq, there is one which is probably the most important, and it's called the King's List. And the King's List starts with how the kingship within the Anunnaki, how it was passed down to anyone from these Anunnaki who are gonna lead and become kings on Earth. Obviously, they are a supreme being, and they are dealing with a less advanced civilization. So the King's List refers to a list of names, exactly this one, that starts surprisingly not from 5,000 years ago, not 10,000 years ago. We are talking about 240,000 years ago.
Wow.
These are numbers that are so massive that they change everything we thought we know about our history and about all that. And they're referring to things that have happened before the last ice age. Now, the last ice age of humanity started around 112,000 years ago, and it ended around 10,000 BC. That's what modern archaeology tells you. That's after the melting of the ice age. That's when civilization sort of began, and modern man started to show signs and everything. However, what we have from this list is that, in fact, it began hundreds and thousands of years before, and they had longevity of life. We had some kings or some of these beings that would rule Earth for around 14,000 years. Others would rule them around 38,000 years. So they dealt with years that are very different than humanity dealt with.
And I think a lot of people I've talked to, there's been like some theories and opinions that the Anunnaki brought us here, and then some people, like you were saying, like we were more hunters and gatherers, then they came here. So what is the theory on the existence of us? Forget the Anunnaki for a second.
Yeah.
Were we here before Anunnaki, or who brought us here if the Anunnaki did not?
Well, we were definitely here before the Anunnaki, but not in our current form. Now, even when you look at archaeology and paleontology, different studies of our ancient history and all of that, you can see that humanity had different we evolved from different beings and different states and all that, and we had common ancestors and all that. But surprisingly, only Homo sapiens were the ones who kind of survived this evolution, whereas the other ones kind of like faded throughout in time. And it's kind of like they went, like, for example, when we talk about the Neanderthals and how they lost the war to Homo sapiens, if you want, which kind of gives the idea that Homo sapiens had an edge with their tools and with their advanced knowledge of things that the other beings did not have, or other species. And that actually is written within the mythology of the Anunnaki and within the Abrahamic religions and most other religions as to how humans were created and what we say in the likeness of God. This is a line that is always repeated everywhere, like we were created in the likeness of God. This could be an actual way of saying that our DNA has been manipulated on some level so that we become what we are. And this is something that I've touched about in my podcast, where it doesn't seem like humanity, especially the current version of it, the Homo sapiens, that we don't really belong on Earth, or at least we carry traits that don't feel like we have evolved fully, or those traits evolved fully on Earth. For example, we still, like, one of the main things I always give is the hair we grow on our heads. And for most, men on our face.
Right.
Now, if you look from an evolutionary standpoint, we are the only species ever that we keep growing our hair on our head, and it doesn't stop growing unless we use a tool that we created to cut it.
Right.
Which means that at some point there is a part of our DNA that has decided to keep this grow, even though this has no effect on us at all. We have shed all our body hair, which, could be said that we kept us warm in the winter back in those days, thousands of years ago. But in terms of like aesthetics, this is a very unique trait that we have, and the only other animal that has hair that keeps growing, and it needs an advanced being to cut it, is a sheep. And the sheep has been genetically modified to do that. It doesn't grow like that in nature, or it didn't do that thousands of years ago. We actually did that through crossbreeding and through genetic manipulation to reach where we are. This is the same thing for mankind. And what's funny is that religions, especially in Abrahamic, they talk about beings coming down from the sky to mate with humans. There's a section in the book of Genesis that talks about the Nephilim, who actually came down from Earth, and they took wives from the humans who they found pretty and all that, and they made kids with them and all that. So it's the same idea that how we have traits as humans that don't feel like we belong on Earth. It's one of the biggest thing is our consciousness and our ability to be self-aware, which no other species has ever evolved into that and ever will. So it does feel like at some point there was a direct manipulation or interference from an advanced being.
Yeah, and I've heard that many times, and I totally believe that definitely is something that is 100% possible. Even just how we have developed so fast in just a few thousand years, with our intelligence, even technology, everything just seems to have kind of came out of nowhere and changed us something DNA wise that made us more intelligent, that definitely
because
changed our history.
They say that Homo sapiens first appeared 1.8 million years ago. And throughout this 1.8 million years, we've been living a specific way. And then suddenly overnight, we've discovered agriculture, and we've domesticated animals, and we've started building monuments and putting laws and creating extremely progressive laws also, not just any sort of laws. So this shift is so sudden and so severe that it cannot have happened unless there was an interference.
So why do you think, the Anunnaki came to this earth, crossbred with us as Homo sapiens and created the current man who they are today? Does the transcripts or anything talk about what happened to them? Why did they leave? Or what happened to the Anunnaki? Why didn't they not stay on Earth? Or did they?
Well, there isn't. There's a lot of hidden information, obviously, when it comes to this stuff, because what we have is the reason why we have this information is because it's carved in stone, and we were able to find tablets which tell the story about what happened. So anything post that time is to an extent hidden, or at least, altered or manipulated,
Right.
so that we don't know exactly what happened. Now, there are, of course, a lot of stories regarding wars within the Anunnaki themselves, that they were split, especially regarding what happened to mankind. There were two different schools of thought completely in their pantheon, and they were either one of them, like a part of them wanted to, reset the whole thing, recreate humanity.
Right.
We don't like it the way it is. Others were like, no, this is our creation. We can do something with it and all that. And recently, I have been reading more and more about people who channel information from different alien species and different beings and stuff like that, that what the Anunnaki did kind of like was not well received within the the galactic federation, or whatever you want to call it, because they have tempered with a normal evolution on a specific planet and stuff. So there is a belief that they were either they left, or that they are here but in a form of capacity that they not as strong as others, or that they are actually other beings on this planet right now that have taken control.
Yeah, and I think the lack of evidence. I mean, there's evidence of the Anunnaki in certain tablets and stuff, but I was wondering, like with Göbekli Tepe, how it seemed like they tried to bury the evidence.
Yes.
Do you feel that the Anunnaki was the same way? Like they wanted their existence to kind of be unknown or hidden from the planet? And if you feel that, why do you think that they may have wanted their existence not known?
Well, I mean, again, I do feel like it has something to do with the fact that they're not the only ones who were either interested in Earth or
Right.
had any say in it. See, this is a common thing that people have who barely know anything about aliens, is that when they think we talk about aliens or extraterrestrial or interdimensional or all these different beings, that we're only talking about the grays, the short gray aliens. And this is one of many different species that have visited Earth, or at least have made some sort of presence.
Right.
So there's a lot of, within there, like I said, within them, that they disagreed on so many things. They're not the perfect beings that we think they are.
Right,
that
right.
presented themselves they are. And I think that duality that's in them actually did translate to us when they did manipulate, when they gave us some of their DNA or played around with it. It does feel like that duality came into us, because no other being on Earth has a duality like we do. No other. Like everything else is working with extreme harmony with nature. Even nature itself, the animals are set in one way. There is nothing good or evil about anything that
Right.
they do. We are the only species that enslave each other, that go to war with each other, that we have traits that doesn't feel like we would have naturally got them, because we're the only ones who have them. So why would that be unless something? You know what I mean?
We do seem like, as human beings, kind of out of place
Yes.
on this planet. Where, like you said, with nature, a lion kills, another species to feed off of, not just because, just because. And the same with, other, there are animals that may go in packs, but again, they eat them. They eat their prey. They don't necessarily do it for any other reason, because like you said, this is just nature.
And it's maximum a reason for survival in terms of survival within the physical needs. Like as long as I take control of my tribe, for example,
Right.
or of this territory or something, I'm fine. And the conflict ends on the spot. We are the only ones who have these emotions of revenge and vengeance and scarcity. And we're always feeling like something's not enough. And we have this connection to the stars and to space. Like who among us doesn't look up and feel like this
Right.
extreme loneliness, or like I don't belong,
Everybody.
something up there waiting. like home is more up there than it is here. It's
I mean,
something innate in us.
Yeah. Even in death, We talk about, going to heaven or whatever you believe. It's the universe. We talk about our soul ascending to a higher plane. So, yeah, that is fascinating. And like I said, sometimes I think our intelligence is what gets us in trouble, because our intelligence is what created the egos and we created power. And, so, yeah, I think that definitely is something to do with it. Now, when we talk about the Abrahamic, if I can say Hamic, religions, I put this up on screen for the people that are listening to the podcast. So it kind of breaks down Abraham, Isaac, Ishmael, and Judaism, Islam, and the list goes down and down and down. How does it? One of the questions, in fact, when I put in on social media, somebody asked, was there a difference between Anunnaki and Abrahamic religions? Was it kind of Anunnaki just transformed into these religions?
Yes. So this is where the meat of the story is, because
I love good meat.
Yeah. So what it seems to be, from the evidence when you read the Bible or the Torah or the Quran,
right,
and when you reread them with the information you have now, or when you read them with some of let me look at it from an Anunnaki point of view, or at least me knowing what is that original mythology, you can see that there are so many similar stories between the Abrahamic religions and the Anunnaki stories. The difference is that when it came to Abrahamic religions, because they no longer believed in many gods and they believed in only one, the stories changed into whatever the actions that used to happen in Mesopotamia now happened with only one god, instead of them happening with two or several gods. So one of the examples, and that's a flagrant one, is when we talk about the story of the flood and Noah. Now, Noah in the Abrahamic religions is a prophet, and he lived in a time where God, or Yahweh, or Jehovah, or whatever the name that was given to him at the time, was displeased with mankind, right? And he wanted to destroy everything. He's not happy with the way things are. I'm going to throw in a flood, reset the whole thing. But then God himself said, but you, Noah, I like you and your family. You are a righteous man, and I will keep you and I will tell you what to do. The actual sentence is, where is it? Okay. The Lord saw how great the wickedness of the human race had become on earth, and he regretted that he had made human beings on earth, and his heart was deeply troubled. So the Lord said, I will wipe from the face of the earth the human race I have created, and with them the animals, the birds, and everything. But Noah, it says, but Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. And then if we go, this is Genesis 5, so if we go to the verse, 13. God said to Noah, I am going to put an end to all these people. And then he said in 14th verse, so make yourself an ark of cypress wood, make room with it. This is how you build it, make a roof, living below the roof, and so on and so on. So this is in the Bible and the Torah, this is as it's written, as it is. Now, if we look at the Mesopotamian version of this, Noah was not named Noah, he was named Atrahasis. And this is in the tablet of Atrahasis, and it reads as this. It says, Atrahasis, first it talks about how the difference, the idea that humanity needed to be destroyed came from one of the two brothers who were, the kings on earth. So the two brothers are Enki and Enlil. And Enki, En means Lord. Ki means earth. So Enki is Lord of earth. So Enki was in charge of earth and the people and everything related to them. Enlil, his brother, was in charge of the skies and everything above, because En, as I said, is Lord, and Lil is the sky. So he was Lord of the sky. Now Enlil did not like humanity at all. He felt it was a failed experience. He did not want them to continue. They were too loud. He was not able to sleep at night. They were breeding without control, because the original plan was not for us to have sexual organs or anything like that, but some slipped into our DNA these ideas and stuff. So we were able to do that. So Enlil decided to destroy everything. And here we see that the discussion between Enki and Enlil, the two brothers. Now Enki is talking. He's saying, you imposed your loads on man. You bestowed noise on mankind. You slaughtered a god together with his intelligence. You must create, and you now want to create a flood. Let us make that, Enki saying, I will make an oath not to have that happen against my people, because Enki believed that we are his people. And then he goes to Atrahasis, who is actually Noah. And he tells him in a dream, make sure you attend to the message I tell you, listen constantly to me. Now, dismantle the house, build a boat, reject possessions, and save living things. The boat you build, and it's destroyed here, the panels, is saying that make decks, make the roof higher, I shall make your rain fall on you. And then basically Atrahasis is speaking with the other people, saying that my god, Enki, is out of favor with your gods, who is Enlil. So this duality that existed in God in the Abrahamic religions, which doesn't make sense because he was one part wanting to destroy humanity, the other part wanting to save it, actually is two different gods who were talking about it and had a fight. One of them wanted us and the other didn't. This is the difference between the stories in the Anunnaki and the Abrahamic religions, where some of the names or some of the gods were erased in order to make way for the one God, who is Yahweh. And this is something that I found very interesting and I recently came to this information, when we talk about Jehovah or Yahweh in general as a name itself. Now, if we look at the Torah and the first time that Moses met with God, met with Yahweh, Moses saw him and he said that he saw something very made of light and something extremely spectacular. And he didn't understand what he was looking for at the start. And it was around the time when the Jews were still in Egypt under the pharaohs, and Yahweh wanted to get them out and into the promised land, which is Israel and all that. It was around that time. And then Yahweh appears to Moses and he tells him, I want you to go to my people, to the people of Israel, and tell them that you have spoken to me and that I will set them free. I will be their salvation. They will be freed from Egypt and they will go to the promised land. And Moses asks, who do I tell them sent me? And the replies was Yahweh. And Moses says, what does that mean? And Yahweh means, in Arabic, is Ana huwa alladhi huwa, which is I am what I am. Just tell them I am what I am. I am the God of Abraham. I am the God of Isaac. I am the God of your ancestors. But what strikes interesting in that conversation is that when Yahweh himself said his name, Moses did not understand that word, which means that the word is not
interesting.
Jewish in nature or Egyptian in nature, which means it's a word that came from a different land and it was exposed to Moses for the first time. And that's when and we know that names, especially in Judaism, mean a lot. They mean something before we give into them. So, for example, Moses, the meaning of Moses is to pull, because he was actually rescued from the Nile when he was a baby by the Pharaoh's. So, to pull. Abraham, God gave him the name Abraham. His name was Abram or something else. And then Abraham means the father of all. And so do other meaning, even Jesus' name. The original in Aramaic is Joshua, Yeshua, which means basically the Lord of salvation, which is what he was referring to himself. So these names mean something, and people knew what it means when they were given to people. But Yahweh was not a known name, which is weird for Moses not to know him, because he knew languages and he went to many lands throughout his story, from Egypt to the Arabian Peninsula to this. So again, was he seeing someone, or was he exposed to a being not from this land who pretended to be a god? Not only that this god shares a lot of the traits of Enlil, who, if you want, we can call him the bad one, but he was extremely specific in certain situations about what he wanted Moses to do. So, for example, after they left Egypt, they were walking, and God basically appeared to him, or Yahweh appeared to him, and he was telling him this sentence, and I found it interesting. He said, "Do not, while you're walking towards Israel, do not make any treaties with the people of the country in which you are going, because this could be fatal trap to you. Instead, tear down their altars, destroy their sacred pillars, and cut down the symbols of the goddess Asherah." Now, Asherah is Ashtarut, or also known as Easter, which is what today is known as Easter. And he said, "For I am a jealous God, and I do not wish to share you with anyone." He did not say, "I am the only God." He did not say their gods were wrong. He said, "I'm the only one who is jealous, and I want you for myself." So I also found this because even Asherah is one of the goddesses of the pantheon of the Anunnaki. And it is believed within that mythology that Enlil and Asherah did not like each other too much, because she was married to someone that he felt very fondly of and stuff like that. So it is these breadcrumbs of information that keep pass on, and it feels like so many times within the Bible itself they're referring to encounters with aliens or UFOs, but they just did not have the correct words to use. You know what I mean? So when they say we saw a pillar of light, a chariot of fire, something with this head, something like that, it's because those people did not have the terminology for it. They won't say we saw a UFO, something made of metal or something like that. So this keeps coming up again and again.
And while you were talking, what really popped into my head is taking it back to Noah and the ark. I'm curious to see, I mean, there's no way of us knowing, but it's a good theory to think about. Was Noah one of the higher genetically
interesting
connection between Anunnaki and, the human Homo sapiens? Because why would they go to this particular man and give them this information unless he was somebody special? And so I'm wondering if he was like one of the higher ranked genetically DNA infused humans at that time.
It could be that, actually. I never thought of this like that, but I like it. And it could also apply to the others who we think as prophets, for example.
Right.
Because they seem to be the messengers of these gods. And it's like, why would they choose to communicate certain things with these people and not the rest? So it does feel like these were genetically higher or differently built.
Yes.
Or maybe the earliest ones, or maybe the last ones, if you want to, take out the bugs and all that. But it does feel like these were special people. Yes, I definitely agree with this idea.
Yeah, I just, it popped into my head. It's like, why? Because like Moses, why Moses? Why, Jesus? Why Muhammad? All these people that
Noah? Why? Yes.
It's like,
True.
were they? It's almost like royalty in some way, bloodlines. You wonder if these are somehow bloodlines of each other that now we can do a DNA.
Kind of are, actually. If you the chart you showed earlier, when it shows Abraham, and then from that we have Ishmael and Isaac, and then the entirety of the religions came out. These are all the sons of, and passing down the generations from Isaac to David until Jesus, and then we have Ishmael to the others until Muhammad and all of them. So we have an actual tree line, and the DNA is passed, and it does feel like they always take that role of the messenger, or the ones in between the gods and humanity. So I definitely like this idea. Yeah, thank you for that.
And the Anunnaki, the two Anunnaki gods that they slip my mind right now. One wanted us
Enki and Enlil.
Yeah. So
they're behind you. They're your picture. Right
here.
Backdrop. Yes.
This could be, maybe this is what was kind of put in our DNA, the battling, because look at where we've come from. Abraham is really the creation of all religions.
Yep.
But yet we fight over religion all over the world. Like, even in America, I'm a Methodist, I'm a Protestant, I'm a, Baptist, there's so many religions that have been diluted but that's where it seems like majority of our battles are, fighting and killing each other. It's from the religious part of it. I'm wondering if it's part of like a DNA infused of that, I don't know, hatred, but just like the disagreement of existence of each other.
Definitely, yes. It doesn't. It feels so much out of place, and it feels like it's mostly rooted within religion, because religion is the only concept that we need to convince each other of. Like,
right.
We can believe different philosophical ideas, and we can be like, okay, cool, we agree to disagree. We can have different social ideas, but whenever it comes to religion, it does feel like there is this innate need to make everyone believe what we are thinking, in this moment. So there is a very weird thing about the concept of it, and when we look at its origin and how it was rooted in conflict, it only makes sense that it's going to stay in conflict, because that's where it was born, in conflict. It wasn't born naturally. It's not a natural evolution of things. It's just something that is, pushed on us, and we can see the outcome of it now, thousands of years later.
Well, when we go back, the Sumerians and all, and the tablets and the first mentioning of Anunnaki, when were these tablets once again discovered, and who was able to decipher this language, Sumerian language? Because a lot of people probably didn't even know how to decipher that.
Yeah, so the tablets themselves were discovered not too long ago, relatively, like in late 1800s. That's where the first tablets were discovered, and then they discovered more later on and all that. And it was in what was known in the city of Ur in Iraq. And obviously that is the first language ever. The cuneiform. That's what it's called. And from what I know is that it was translated thanks to the Rosetta Stone.
Yes.
It kind of helped us discover several languages from around that time. But we also need to understand that unlike other languages, actually it's similar to other languages, that the Sumerian one evolved in time, and it became Babylonian, it became Akkadian, and then Aramic, and then Arabic, and then it stays till now. So we share so many things with that original language, and it's one of the things that actually made me more interested in this, because I can see things from an Arabic point of view since I speak the language, and I noticed that there are a lot of similarities from certain words, and you're gonna like this. Like we said that Enlil is the god of heavens, right? And he's the one who didn't really like us. Now, when I first started reading about Enlil and hearing about it, I was also hearing it from an English sentence or words, pronunciation Enlil. But then I noticed that if we look at it from an Aramic background, or Arabic if you want, it's not so much Enlil as it's much Enlil. There's an emphasis on Il. And why do I say that? Because the names of the angels in the Abrahamic religions all have that Il suffix at the end in Arabic and in Aramic and in Hebrew. It's just we don't notice that, because when we say, for example, when I say Michelangelo or Gabriel, all of these names, okay, they just sound like normal angel
right.
names. But when we say them in Arabic, for example, now Michelangelo his name is Mikhail, so you have the Il, and then Gabriel is actually Jibril, with also an Il at the end. Even what is known as Satan, who is Azrael, is Azrael in Arabic. So the Il is the suffix that keeps popping up in the names of these angels, and it could be because they were actually messengers or emissary from Enlil from that time, and that's how they were introducing themselves, because they come from that being or from that space.
Right.
Even the name Israel, which is the promised land in Judaism, in Arabic is Israel. And if you break down Israel, you have Isra and Il, and Isra means victory of, and it feels, and it's like the victory of Il and the victory of Enlil after he freed his people from Egypt and brought them there. So these names are so interesting, and they keep popping up. Even, for example, Emmanuel is actually, and they say that Emmanuel means God is with us, but Emmanuel in Arabic is Ammanuel. Again, Il is there.
That's interesting. That's a good point. That is a really good point. And we only have about 10 minutes left. And what I like to do is I usually like to, because we're not, just people know we pre-tape this. So because of the time difference, because I don't know what time it is, but I'm sure it's pretty late. And so, but I usually ask questions from the chat room. So I did put it on social media, and then there's just a few questions that people wanted to ask you from them. So this is it. So what is your favorite part about these religions and the Anunnaki? What is your favorite part of learning about it?
I think what I loved when I relearned about them, because of course I learned them from the start and I accepted them and all that, but once I reread them with a new eye, with a new information in my mind, I could see how much we are trying to be told the truth about our history and where we came from and why are we here and who were these beings, what did they want from us, and all of that. And the answers are all written down. It's so interesting to me that all we have to do is literally just open the book that's available to everyone and read it. We're not talking about some conspiracy, something hidden, some classified information. It's right here. The Bible, the Torah, the Quran, the mythology of Mesopotamia, Sumerians, everything is there. All we have to just read them and look at where our origin is from. It's written. Everything's written right there.
Well, I'm going to ask you this, that you brought that up, is why do you feel a lot of religions, the Catholic Church, they have these vaults full of, I think, the truth of our history. Why do you think the religions don't want us to know the truth about our beginnings?
Because they will lose power. That's all what religion is. Religion is power, and they want to take it from you. They want to tell you that you do not know anything. You need us. You need to talk to someone who studied the religion so you can speak with God. You don't know your history. We know the history. There are no other beings other than humans. That's why God cares so much whether you do certain things or don't, and he's watching you and all of that. It's the fear, it's power, control. How they're gonna give all that up? And it's funny you mentioned that. I know we're almost out of time, but I want to mention that once I read the Sumerian mythology about the Anunnaki, I remember that in school, and I come from a Catholic background, and in our school they would teach us all mythologies from ancient times up until Judaism, and we were taught about the Egyptians, and we were taught about the Norse and the Romans and the Greeks, and for some reason we were never taught about the Anunnaki.
That's weird.
It's like, why would they not share this? Why is this not taught in school? Just like, why are you not teaching in schools that there is a story? It's very similar to the flood, or very similar to the creation that is written in the Bible. And why is it? It feels like they don't want kids to actually think, wait, I've heard the story before. So if it's written with the Sumerians, then how is it in Christianity as well? Or how is it in Islam as well? So there's an active work to not make this information available. It's available, but you have to work hard to find it. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah.
And when you do find it, a lot of people say it's conspiracy theory. So,
of course. Of course.
All right. This is another one. It says, if you could give one piece of advice to your listeners, what would it be? And I'm assuming it's towards the Anunnaki and the religions of, that it existed because of the Anunnaki.
I would say all you have to do is simply read any of the many books about the mythology of Mesopotamia. Read about the floods, read about the Epic of Gilgamesh, all you have to do is read, and you will find the comparison on your own. You will find the similarities. You won't even need to hear someone talk about it, or someone else doing the research or doing the theories or anything like that. Because once you start reading them, you start understanding how similar everything is and how it's all derived from the same source. And the reason I said again why that source matters more than other sources is because that source is carved in stone. So there is no way to edit it or to manipulate it or to destroy it right now. It's out. The information is out. We can't go back. Any sort of information can be altered. Any truth can be changed if it's written on paper, which is what we can see from all the different information and history and news and all of that. But carved in stone cannot be altered.
Right. And before I ask this last question about your podcast, but, in Christianity, they talk about Jesus' second coming. And I'm curious to see if there's other religions that have talked about their prophets of coming back for a second time, and if this is actually a referral of the Anunnaki.
Definitely in Islam, there's a second coming as well. There's a division between Islam, between the Sunni and Shia sects, and each one believes that either that the Savior, the Messiah, whatever you want to call him, either has come before and is coming again, the second coming, or that he hasn't come before and will still come, which is the same belief in Judaism as well.
Right.
All these Abrahamic religions talk about someone's gonna come back, which is in line with someone was here and they're coming back again, using the same terminology, coming down from the sky, appearing above, all of the stuff that we associate right now with aliens and UFOs and extraterrestrials.
Yeah, I've always thought, is that the actual disclosure of the UFOs to finally reveal themselves? If that is actually the second coming? I was, that might be one of the
Could be
answers. So, all right, well, let's talk real quick before we go about your podcast.
Oh, yes. Thank you for so this is a podcast where I basically talk about everything I talked about now and more stuff like that. The official tagline is exploring truth through forgotten knowledge, because I believe that there's a lot of information that our ancestors knew, truth that they knew that is kept from us, was either on purpose or forgotten through time. But it does feel like every single time I look back into any ancient mythology, any story, anything that stands out, you feel like they're all talking about the same thing. They're all talking about beings coming down from the sky, how we can overcome this. What's the true nature of God? And is it what Abrahamic religions think as a being who has control over humanity, or is it something much more, esoteric than that? And this is basically So there's my podcast, Paradigm Shift, with Sergio El Halabi. It's everywhere on all podcast channels, and there's also my Instagram account, which you can see down here, paradigm.shift.experience, where I go over the topics I talk about on my podcast, but I make them more visual and more designed and different medium.
Well, I love this. I'm excited to listen to it myself. I hadn't had a chance yet, but I'm going to. And is it in English?
Yes, it's 100% English.
Perfect. Because I may not. If it wasn't, I would be like, okay, I'd have to get a translator. But Sergio, I really appreciate you being on the show, and I really hope my audience will follow you and support your podcast. And again, once more, it's the Paradigm Shift right there with Sergio, and is it El Halabi, right?
Halabi, yes.
Halabi,
yes. Yes.
And
good job.
Well, I try. And make sure you guys also check out parapodfestival.com coming up April 1st, 2023 at Hyatt Regency Hotel up in Santa Clarita, California. We're having a festival. It's all about the paranormal, UFO, ghost, cryptozoology, true crime. It's people from all over the world coming in, speaking. We're going to have entertainment. We're having a film festival and a podcast award. So you podcasters and filmmakers, go to parapodfestival.com, submit right on the page. You can, so easy to submit and be a part of history. And if you want to see, this is the official awards that's going to be given away. And we hope you guys submit. So Sergio, hopefully I'll see you on one of those lists for your podcast.
Definitely, I will. But thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much.
You got it. All right, everybody. Thank you. I'm Tony Sweet for Truth Be Told Fridays right here. And you can watch Robert Hensley. He's going to be coming back this coming Monday. I think, what is that, 14th? Is that the 14th? I think it's the 14th with MINUTEMAN Report. Bonnie Burkert is also going to be doing a show this coming Wednesday for Truth Be Told Transformation. And we have the new show for under the Truth Be Told banner. It's called Paranormal Pals. So there's four young people that are showing their interest in this genre. So hopefully you'll support them as well. Until next time, I'm Tony Sweet with Truth Be Told. This has been another episode of Truth Be Told. Thank you so much for watching. Recorded live at UBN Go Studios in Burbank, California. Join us on social media. Facebook, Truth Be Told Radio. Instagram, Truth Be Told Paranormal. Go to Truth Be Told Worldwide for more information on upcoming shows.